Not long ago, we had an idea of building a complete app in FlutterFlow from start to finish. And this is going to be a live production app that we are going to design, architect, build, test, and ultimately launch. After launching, we will market this app and try to get users on board. And the idea for the app is this is going to be a FlutterFlow marketplace. Basically, it's going to be a place where people can come in. They can either buy or sell their own apps. And so here's the architectural diagram for the app. This is kind of what we built so far. We built the main screen that the user sees when he or she logs in, the list of apps for sale, an app detail. We also built out a seller dashboard. And today I want to talk about this piece here. And so in today's video, we are going to build out the buying flow. In other words, the purchasing flow. So things like adding to cart or buying outright. So either they're going to add to cart and then they're going to purchase, or they're going to purchase right away. They're going to do a checkout, pay for the app, and then they're going to have the app in their own account. Now, before we continue, just so that you know that the app we're going to go out and build today is going to be available on my Patreon page. And so that is the case with all the apps that I built on this channel, whether they're FlutterFlow or anything else. And so if you're interested in viewing and or cloning the app that we're going to be building in today's video, you will be able to do it from the Patreon page that you're going to find in the link in the description below. Now, before we start building out the actual paying and the purchasing flow, I want to show you what we have so far. And so here I am logged in my FlutterFlow account. This is the app that we have so far. It has a bunch of pages. We have the login, we have an account, we have the app list, app details, seller's dashboard, edit app, and a new app. And this roughly corresponds to what you're seeing right here. And so if we run the app, this is kind of what you see. So I'm logged in and I am seeing the apps that are for sale. So there's a Pomodoro app, there's an appointment app, and a user such as myself can click on a particular app that they're interested in, and they can get some information about the developer, rating, reviews, features of the app, the price, and they can go out and purchase. And the same thing can happen if you're a seller. You can go to a seller dashboard and you can see the apps that you've listed for sale. So in this case, I've listed the Pomodoro app, and so I can click on it and I can edit this app. I can, change some of the fields here, the description, the name, and I can save it. But ultimately, when we are finished with this app, you'll be able to do a lot more. So here I have, you'll be able to change the status, change the price, as well as see sales, profit, etc., etc. So I have a lot of plans for this specific app. Lots and lots of interesting features, lots of functionality, lots of things I want to build. And in today's video, what I want to do is I want to continue building this app out. So assuming I'm logged in and I'm seeing the apps that are being sold, I can click on the app, I can take a look at the reviews, and I can go out and purchase. So what I want to do is I want to build out this flow here. I want to do an add to cart and I want to do a purchase. So if the person wants to add to cart and purchase multiple apps, they'll be able to do so. But if they want to go out and purchase, they will be able to do so as well. Now, first, I want to do the purchase flow, and then I'm going to be doing the add to cart flow. Now, to handle payments for our app, we are going to be relying on Stripe. So you do need a Stripe account if you want to follow along. And you can simply get your free Stripe account by going onto stripe.com, signing up, filling everything out, and you're going to have a Stripe account. Once you have your Stripe account, you want to go back to FlutterFlow and you want to configure the Stripe functionality inside FlutterFlow. And so what you need to do is you need to go to Settings and Integrations. You're going to go into Stripe here, and you're going to enable Stripe payments. Okay, and you're going to need to fill out a bunch of information here. So you want to make sure this is on. You want to make sure this is turned off because we're going to be testing. And the way this works is that when you are doing payments, and so we're going to be using Stripe, but typically with a lot of payment providers, They give you a production environment and they give you a sandbox or a test environment. And both of these environments have the same features and functionality, except with the test environment, you're not making actual credit card charges. You are just making test charges that you will see inside your dashboard if those charges are successful, if they're not successful, and you can obviously make those charges using fake credit card numbers. And you obviously cannot do that in a production environment. Now, the next thing that you want to do, assuming you've created a Stripe account, is you want to log into your dashboard. And here I am in my Stripe account. And you want to search for API keys. So if I search for API keys, I want to pick the first result. And now I'm going to be on this page. Now, right here, I can switch to a production mode. And I can switch to a test mode. So we're going to switch to a test mode. And you want to select this as well because you want to be viewing test data, okay? And so on this page, you are going to be given test API keys. So it says here, viewing test API keys, toggle to view live keys. And so what you want to do is you want to copy these two keys here. So we have the publishable key. We're going to copy it, and then we're going to go back to FlutterFlow. And we are going to paste it right here for the publishable key. Next thing, you want to do the same thing for the secret key. We're going to copy it simply by clicking on it, and we're going to paste it right here. And now I have two of these keys here. Now you still need to fill out a couple of things. You need a merchant display name, okay? And so if you click on this, it will tell you what that is. That is a display name for the merchant, that the user will see for payments. And so when the user buys something, they're going to see a little text on their credit card statement as part of the description for that specific payment. So I'm just going to put FlutterFlow Marketplace so that the user sees what exactly they're paying for. And we also need the merchant country code. And this is the ISO country code where the merchant U is based. So we're going to pick US for USA. And obviously, if you're based in another country, you need to look up your country code and put that in here. And so we are complete. We filled out everything that we need for the test environment, these settings here. And the next thing you want to do is you want to hit deploy. And this is going to take some time. It can take anywhere from 10 seconds to maybe a minute or more. And what is essentially doing it is it's deploying all of this information onto something called a Google Cloud function. Okay, so you don't need to know much about that. But it is very, very important that this process is successful. So it's taking some time, and hopefully when everything is done, we're going to see that this is successful. This thing is going to go away. So if you click here, it's saying Firebase functions not deployed, and that is because this is not finished. So eventually, we're not going to have this error. Okay, so now let's go back here and let's go to our page where we can actually purchase the app. And that's going to be typically from our app details. So if we scroll down, we have this purchase. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this price is formatted as a currency. So if we click on this price, click set from variable, I have this price. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a number format, and I'm going to say custom. And I'm going to make sure display as currency, okay? That's going to be displaying as currency. Confirm, okay? On this button, we're going to create an action, and we're going to search for Stripe, and we're going to select Stripe payment. Now we need to fill out some information. So we need the amount required, and this is very, very important to understand, is that this amount required needs to be multiplied by 100 in the case of dollars. So if you're charging $5, you need to put 500. It needs to be in cents, in other words. And so it says here, for example, 1738 should be passed in as 1738. And so in this case, what we need to do is we need to take the value that's the price for this app, and we need to multiply it by 100. And so in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say from variable. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a very, very quick custom function. Okay, so I'm going to say a custom function, and I'm going to say return price, or actually get price. Okay, the return type is going to be an integer. Okay, because we're going to be passing a full value. Is is false, nullable is false, and the argument that we're going to be taking in is the price. the price is going to be a double. Okay, is list false, nullable is true, that's fine. And now we're going to go into code. And what we want to do, guys, is we want to return the price multiplied by 100. That's all we need to do. And so here's the full function code. Essentially what we're doing is we're multiplying by 100 and converting to an integer. And you can also test this out. Let's say the app is $5.95. And if you run this, we should be returning $5.95. And we have $5.95. Let's say the app is 49, that's going to be 1549, 1549 essentially. And if you run this test, you can see that. And so it's always a good idea to use this testing. This is very, very, very useful. I cannot say that enough. We're going to say save. And now we need to pass the value to this custom function. And we're going to pass the price of the app. So we're going to go to the apps document, pick price here. And that's going to get the price for Stripe, essentially multiplied by 100. Next, we need to fill out the currency code. Okay, so the currency code is USD. Customer email is required. We're going to pick that. We're going to do authenticated user email. We have customer name optional. We're going to skip that. Recommended description. Okay, so let's use an app description, app name for the description. We also have an option of accepting Google Pay and Apple Pay. Now, this is something we are definitely going to be accepting in this app when we launch this app. But right now, I'm just going to deselect it. I'm not going to be testing this right now. But when we do launch the app, we're definitely going to be turning these on because they require some extra configuration. All right, and this is going to be returning a payment ID. Now, remember, when you chain these actions, you can have the next action read that payment ID and check, what the value is and maybe do something with it, maybe store it somewhere else as well. So that is kind of what we have. We have everything filled out. Let's see why we're getting an error. Okay, custom functions need to be checked for errors. That's very, very standard. So this is fine. Let's go ahead and check our custom functions. Let's check it for errors real quick. All right. And remember, we were deploying our Stripe stuff before. Remember, it was taking some time. And as you can see, we're seeing this green checkbox. And if we go back to Stripe, we can see that it deployed. So you have to make sure that this is deployed properly and you're not seeing any errors. If you do see errors, make sure you double check everything that you filled out. Everything is correct there, because if you cannot deploy it, you're not going to be able to work with Stripe. All right, so now we have this Stripe action tied, attached to this button here. So let's go ahead and run our app. And let's see if everything works correctly, how we want it to work. All right, so here's the app. Let's say I want to go out and I want to build this appointment app. So I'm going to click here and I'm seeing this details screen. I see the thumbnail, I see the name, the description, the developer and features and stuff like that. I see it's $5. So I say, okay, I want to purchase. I'm going to click on purchase. And we are seeing this a little pop-up. And this is a Stripe pop-up. This is a built-in pop-up that's going to connect to Stripe directly. And now it's telling us the name of the app. This is the payment information. And it's telling us how much we're going to pay. And so now we need to enter some credit card information. Because we're using a test environment, we have access to various testing cards that we can use for testing. And for that, and what you need to do is you simply can Google Stripe test cards. And you're going to be redirected to this page. And you have a bunch of test cards you can test out. So we have Visa, Visa Debit, MasterCard, lots and lots of cards. So I'm just going to pick Visa, a regular Visa. I'm going to copy this. And for CVC, this 3-digit code, it's any 3 digits, date, any future date. So I'm going to go back to our app. I'm going to paste this card. And I'm going to put any future date. So I'm going to put like 12/25 and CVC 111, okay? And so let's see if that works. I'm going to pay our $5. Okay, and so we've gotten a success, okay, because we're not seeing any errors. Otherwise, we would have seen an error. And another way to check is that you can go back to your Stripe screen here, okay, this developer screen where we were copying these keys here. And you can go into payments, okay? You can go into payments. and you should see a record. So as you can see, I have lots and lots of payments. This was from before testing out other apps. But if you look at this latest record here, you see $5. You see it says appointment app. This is the customer's email, and this is the date and time. So as you can see, it succeeded. And so that is how you do payments with Stripe. Now that you've successfully executed a payment in a test environment, you can be 100% sure that when the time comes to actually have a production app that's going to be charging a real customer's credit card, you will be successful there as well. And all you have to do essentially is copy and paste your production credentials. So you have the publishable key here and the secret key. Simply copy and paste it here and turn on this production toggle. And the flow is going to be exactly the same. So the way we did the testing, it's going to be the same when it comes to production, essentially. Next, I want to go out and I want to build a cart functionality. So a shopping cart functionality. So that way that the user, instead of purchasing a specific app, they can add that app to their shopping cart, and then they can go out and they can actually buy all the apps that they've added to their shopping cart. So that is what we're going to be doing next. Now, the way we're going to be designing the shopping cart is we are going to be storing the shopping cart in a local state. So something like a shopping cart is a perfect candidate for local state because it's not something that needs to be stored like permanently, like a list of apps or a list of users. And so what we're going to be creating is we're going to add a state variable, and I'm just going to say cart. And the way we're going to be doing is this is going to be an array of document references that are going to be linked to the apps, collection. So we're going to do a document reference, and this is going to be back to apps. And that way we're going to have the full information, including the price, the name, description, anything that we want. If we need that information, if we are required to show that, maybe on the checkout screen or when we are doing actual payments, stuff like that. So we're going to do a list here. So now that we have this local state here, let's go back inside our FlutterFlow and let's go build the flow out. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to add another button here. So we have the purchase button. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another button here so that along with purchasing this app outright, they'll be able to add this to their shopping cart. All right. So we have this row here, and this row has a column. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this button, I'm going to duplicate it. And now we have two buttons. Let's go ahead and make them a little bit smaller. And let's say this first button is going to be add to cart. Add to cart. I'm going to make it just a tad smaller, something like this. Width is going to be 130. And let's go ahead and make this button also smaller, something like this. And let's say we're going to say buy. Okay, buy. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller as well, maybe 16. Now we can make it okay. All right, so something like this. So now we have this buy button. Let's go ahead and make this buy button a little bit bigger so it kind of fits in. Yeah, something like this. We're going to change it around a little bit later. What's important now is to get the flow. And this thing here is going to just add it to the cart. And so I'm going to come here. We still have that Stripe payment because we duplicated it. So I'm going to delete that. And we are going to add an action. And this action is going to add information. So it's going to update the local store, and it's going to take this reference to this app, and it's going to add it to the cart. And so what I'm going to do is we have the cart variable. We're going to add to list, and we're going to take from variable, and we're going to take the app ref ID because we already have it because we are passing it to this page. It's a parameter to load this up, and we're going to add it there. Very, very quick and easy. And this button is still on Stripe. This is add to cart. The only thing I want to do is I want to add a message. So we're going to do a snack bar. Show a snack bar from, we're going to do specific value, add it, something like this. And let's make the background maybe bluish. That, kind of means that it's a success, right? So something like this. Maybe a light... Maybe, yeah, like a light blue. And primary text, we can even make it white. We can make this somewhere something darker so it's more contrasting. And this is 4 seconds. Let's do 3000 milliseconds or 3 seconds. And so now we're going to add this to the cart, and the cart is going to be built over time, obviously. And then this thing is going to allow them to buy everything. So we're going to change some of the flow as well. All right, so let's go ahead and also add a cart page as well. So the cart page is going to appear maybe as one of the pages on the tab. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new page, cart, and there's some good cart pages that we can use. So maybe something like this. Let's see what else is here. Some good information. How about this one right here? Okay. So if we go back to our app list, we have this thing here. Now, the way this is going to work is that when you're on app details, you can hit buy, and you can also hit buy maybe somewhere here or like view cart or something like this. So you can add to cart, and that's going to redirect maybe to the cart. And this thing, or yeah, somewhere up on top, we can have view cart, right? Because I don't want to have view cart down here because it's a different flow. These are all top level pages. We don't want to have a view cart here. But what we want to do is we're going to have this here, and perhaps this app details, add to cart, it might redirect to view cart. So maybe we can have something like view cart here. So we can do that. We can come to this container and we can say view cart, something like this. Next, let's go ahead and let's work on this cart here. And let's, what are we going to do here? So we need the sum. We need to calculate the sum. We also need to display these products. We have the subtotal. We have the tax. We're not going to have any shipping. We can delete that. And we're going to have a total. And this is going to be Apple Pay. And this is going to be PayPal. So for right now, I'm just going to make one button, Stripe, which is eventually going to support Apple Pay and stuff like that. So we need to calculate the total. And we do that by summing up, by adding up all the apps in our shopping cart. So we're going to do that in a second. But right now, what I want to do is I want to list these things here, right? So if we come in here, pick that, this product container, that is what we want to list. So we have this row product, we have this container, okay, that's the top container. This is our row product, and then we have the product container. So typically, you probably want to duplicate all of this because these are rows, right? If that was a column, then you won't need to do it. But with a row product, you need to duplicate stuff. And so what we're going to be doing here is we're going to wrap this row product inside the list. Okay, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to say wrap widget. I'm going to wrap it inside the list view. And now we can load this list view up with some information. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to load this up with the variables from our shopping cart. So I'm going to come here, local state, cart, confirm, and this is going to be cart items or items, okay? Items, confirm. And now we have our items. Now remember, each item is a reference. It's not a document. It's a reference to a document. It's a document reference. So on this row, this is a good idea, Xenia, to kind of pull up that document information. So this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to say document from reference. I'm going to say apps and items. Okay, confirm. And now we have the document. Okay, now we can actually have the document there. And now we can display all of this. So if we click on this product name, we can say, well, we have the apps document. This is going to be name. Color, this is going to be a description. So I'm just going to do description. This is product image. Perfect. We're going to do a network and apps document thumb. And these are values, right? This is account controller. And obviously you cannot, this is apps, right? We're not going to be buying it multiple times. So we're going to delete that. And all we have is the price. So I'm going to click on this and we're going to select the price right here. And actually, let's format the price. Let's do a number format. Let's do a custom. Let's do display as currency. And this is going to be the price. And obviously, we have more. It's going to display all of them here. So this should display it. We still need the sum. We're gonna have the tags and all that. We can figure all of that out later. But right now we need the subtotal, and we don't need shipping. Shipping we don't need. We have the order total here, and then we have this big checkout. So we have Apple Pay and PayPal. We don't need that. But let me remove that. What else do we have there? We have that one button, and the button, we want the button nicely centered. So let's go ahead and center this button. All right, so now we have the button nicely centered. We can also make it a little bit bigger. Okay, perfect. And so let's go ahead and test this page out. Let's make sure everything is working fine, everything is displaying, and then we can work on this order total, summing up, because we're gonna need a custom function for that. And we also need a custom function, and then we need to make sure that we have the Stripe flow for the whole checkout, checkout there working as well. And so first thing, I want to make sure that we have a way of getting to this cart, and we have a way of getting back. So this is going to be a navigate back, and now this app details, this has this view card. So I'm just going to have that there. I'm going to rethink. We're going to rethink how do we want to access this card? Do we want to access it here? Typically, you probably don't want to access it here because you want that flow to keep going. But this thing, I'm going to link to our shopping cart for now. So I'm going to say navigate to cart. Okay, navigate to cart, and then we can go back as well. All right, so let's go ahead and run this app. Let's create a new test environment, and let's add a couple of apps. Well, we only have 2 apps. Let's see if that's working. All right, so here's our app. Let's go ahead and go to the appointment app, and we want to add this to cart. We added it to cart. Nice notification there. And if we click on view cart, we're seeing this app right here. So this is kind of what we have. Let's go ahead and add another thing to cart. Another app, this Pomodoro app. Let's come back here, add to cart, add it to cart. And if I do view cart, I see 2 apps here. Okay, so this is working perfectly. Our whole cart subsystem is working as it should. The only thing we need to do is calculate the total order price, which is going to be 15 in this case, calculate this piece here, and then do a flow for the checkout and make sure that this hover over colors match up. And that should make it really, really helpful for the users to add these apps to their shopping cart and buy them in bulk. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to calculate the sum. So we have the order total here. We also are going to have the order total here, the subtotal. Specifically, and there are a couple of ways of doing it. You can create a custom function that's gonna go out, and you can pass it your local state, and that's gonna cycle through those references, get the document, get the price of the document, which is an app, get the price of the app, and sum it up together. So that is one way of doing it. But there is another way of doing it. That's a simpler way of doing it. And that is by creating another local state variable that's going to keep track of the sum. So I'm just going to say sum. This is going to be a double. And it's not going to be a list. It's just going to be a variable. And so every time we add an app to the shopping cart, we're going to update the sum with the new app. Every time we're going to remove the app, we're going to subtract it from the sum. So take a look at this. This is a no-code way of doing it. Okay, so this is for my viewers who you know, you don't want to write a lot of code. You don't want to write, custom functions. You can do that if you want, but this is for my guys that just want to, have a no-code way of doing it. So just giving you options. And so take a look at this. If we come back here and we have this app details and we're adding to cart. So what we want to do is we want to create another action here. And we're going to say add an action. And we're going to say local state. We're going to update local state, and we're going to do a sum. And in this case, we're going to increment the value. Okay, we're going to increment it by the app that we are adding. Okay, so if we're adding this specific app, we're going to increment the price. And then when we remove it on the shopping cart, we're going to delete it. We don't have a flow where we are removing it. We're gonna do it in just a few moments. But you have to keep track. So now we add the value here. And now let's go back to our cart. We can simply display the value. So this is another way of doing it. Hope you guys like options. So if we come back here, this text right here, set variable, and we have local state. I'm just going to display sum, and we need to make sure we are formatting it, custom format, display as currency, okay? And same thing, we're going to do it here. If we're going to be doing taxes and all that, I'm just going to display it here as well. Sum and number format, custom format, display as currency. All right, so now we're going to have the sum store, and this is very, very useful for us because not only are we using it in two places here, we're also going to be using it when we're doing a checkout. So that way we don't have to keep recalculating it. So in many ways, this is probably a more preferred method, if you will. If you can think about it that way, it's a good way to store it in local store. And that way we have that variable every time we need it. We don't need to recalculate it. So let's go ahead and reload our app and test that flow to make sure everything works. And then we can build a Stripe cart checkout flow. All right, so let's pick an app. Let's say I want to buy this appointment app. I come back here. Let's check our shopping cart. There's nothing here. We need to display that the shopping cart is empty, and we're going to be doing it by a component that's going to come in here and say this is empty. There's a built-in component that's going to be very helpful. But I'm going to add this to cart, come back here, view cart, and now the sum is $5. Remember, we're adding it up. So if I come back here and I go to this Pomodoro app and I add it to cart, we should have 15. And we have 15. Okay, so it's a really, really solid, easy method that you can use this pattern in a lot of situations. We still need to display the total, but that is if we have the tax. Okay, so let's go back and back to our app. And so for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just not going to calculate tax. We might do that at the end. We might do that at the end of the video. So I'm just going to delete that and just going to display the total here. Local state, sum, number format, custom, display as currency. And if you're wondering how to calculate the tax, well, you have to know how we're going to be calculating it. Depends where the user is. We need to figure out their location. If they are in the United States, each state has its own tax rate. Some states do not have sales tax. So it depends where they are. If they're, in Europe, then you have the VAT. So that is a whole different flow. We're just going to talk about that later. But now we're displaying it. So we have the sum. But another thing I want to do real quick is I want to delete this, right? So I want to make sure we can delete it from the shopping cart, right? Because what good is a shopping cart is if we can't delete these items. So we have this row here, and we have this two columns here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create another column, a third column. And in this column, we're going to create a row. And inside the row, we're going to have some kind of an icon, a button icon button. And this icon button, actually, what we're going to do is we want to center it. And this icon button, we're going to change the icon. It's going to have some kind of a garbage can or a trash can. Trash can. Okay, perfect. Restore. Well, maybe not restore. Maybe trash, garbage. No? Can. What's a synonym? All right, let's just pick a random. How about this one? That's going to remove it. And we are going to we're going to add an action. And this is going to do local state, update local state. We are going to be updating both fields, right? We're going to do update the cart. And we're going to remove it from list, from variable. And remember, we want to remove this specific, right? We want to remove that specific reference. So we're going to go apps reference. So that's removed. This is going to update, but we also need to update the sum, right? That's kind of the thing. We always need to be updating the sum. So we're going to come here, local state. We're going to come here, sum. And we want to decrement, right? So how do we decrement? Well, it's a negative, right? It's a negative, and we want to decrement it by the sum, right? So by this thing here, by the price. The problem is the price is going to be positive, right? So what we need to do is we need to have a custom function, again, that's going to multiply by -1. So very, very quick custom function. Let's come in here, create a new custom function. Get negative, and we are gonna return a data type. The data type we are working with is a double, right? The type is a double, nullable is false. And what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be passing a double, So this is our price. Price is always a double. And let's do that. And let's go to code. And let's write some codes. Let's write some really quick code. Here we're going to check for null value. Otherwise, we're going to be returning price minus 1. That's it. That's all we need to do, okay? And the reason is I'm passing it as a nullable just in case something happens and we're passing a null and I'm just doing a quick check. Otherwise, I'm returning minus 1. And that way, we can do that. And now we're going to pass the price, app, price, confirm. And now we are passing the negative price because, and it's telling here, set the amount you'd like to increment this value, use a negative number to decrement. So if FlutterFlow had a decrement functionality, we wouldn't need that custom function. Otherwise, we do need a very, very small custom function to do that. And so now we are removing that reference from our local state, the app reference, and we are removing the sum. So we're going to hit close. We need to check custom functions. It's going to do that right now. And let's go ahead and check if everything is working, and then we can build out the Stripe payment flow. So there are no errors here. Let's go back here. Let's reload, instant reload our app here. Let's add these to our shopping cart. We're going to add this $10 app. We're going to add this $5 app. And let's view our shopping cart, 15. Okay, so if I click this, this should be 5. So I'm going to do that, 5. Look at that, 0. Perfect, very, very nice. Works perfectly. Now let's add them right back. Let's add this 5. Let's add this 10. Add to cart. And now you can view cart and all that. And so a couple of things left to do. Checkout flow using the sum. And so let's go ahead and do that Stripe flow now. And that is going to be pretty much it that we need to do. So we're going to come back. So let's go ahead and build out that Stripe flow now. So we're going to go to the button, add an action Stripe payment. We need a value. So remember, the value is going to be multiplied by 100. And we already have a custom function for that. So we're going to come here, custom function. We're going to say get price. I should probably name these better. And specific value, we're going to do from variable, local state, sum, confirm, and currency code is USD, customer email required, authenticated user email, customer name optional, we're going to skip that. Description. So for the description, I'm just going to put apps. Okay, we'll decide later how we're going to be calling them. We're not going to be using that right now. We are going to enable them in the final version of the app. So let's go ahead and run this app and see if it actually works. Instant reload right here. All right, so here's our app. Let's add this to cart. That's 10 bucks. Let's say I also want to buy this appointment app. I'm going to add to cart, add it to cart. 15 bucks. 15 bucks. And let's try, so we can remove it. 5 bucks. Let's go ahead. This is 5 bucks. Let's re-add that. Add to cart. View cart, 15 bucks. And let's go ahead and try the checkout. So we're going to hit checkout. Let's hope it works. All right, $15. Perfect. Card number. Let's go ahead and get a random number from Stripe. Well, not a random number, a testing number. Paste that in here. 1225 111. Pay $15. Okay, now we paid it. And now let's go back to our screen here. And let's refresh it. Our dashboard, Stripe dashboard here. And we have $15. Succeeded apps. This is my account name, james@james.com. And so that is how you do payments in this example. So we just did all of this. Another thing that we can do is we can display a confirmation page if we want, something like that. And the other thing that we need to do is we need to add them to their account. Okay, so we're going to need to add them there. And that is something I'm going to be doing in the next series. So in the next series, we are going to be doing some of the final steps here. We're kind of in the final stretch now. Okay, so we're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing reviews. We are going to be doing some of the functionality around the seller's dashboard. We still need to have this functionality there. And after this, we're going to take a look at the app and see if there's something that we want to change, tweak something, change something around. So if you've been following along and you have any suggestions, you have any things that you want me to know, leave them in the comments below. And also, if you are, enjoying and getting value from the series, let me know in the comments below. Like this video, leave a comment below letting us know that you are getting a lot of value, so that maybe we'll start another series, maybe we'll build a game or build another type of app. Let me know that you are getting value. Otherwise, I will never know. Additionally, if you are looking to take your no-code knowledge up a couple of levels above, you are looking to go to the next step, then you definitely want to join my Patreon community, because on that Patreon page, you will be able to view and or clone all the apps that I've built here with FlutterFlow, as well as some of the other app builders. You're going to have access to Q&As, live streams. You're going to get access to a new series where I talk about some of the thinking that goes behind building these apps, and as well as some of the things I'm going to be working on in the future. That series is called Behind the Code. It's actually turning out to be a very, very useful series, getting a lot of feedback, and that's going to be available on that Patreon page. So joining my Patreon is a great way to support this channel, support this community, as well as actually get a lot more value and a lot more knowledge that's actually going to make a big difference in your no-code development. So thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like it if you're getting value. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. And I'll talk to you in a future video.